Hello, and welcome to Cal State University San Bernardino Campus Live in Studio 54, Lead Affiliate Programming. This is Cafecito con. We are a show where we invite guests to inform us, enlighten us, and inspire us by sharing about themselves and the spaces they step into and make their own. We are a team of 3 intergenerational women hoping to bring you conversations about women, with women, and for women. We hope to build a community one story at a time. We believe that every woman has a story that deserves to be heard without borders so that we can express, inspire, inform, and lead to a true self-growth.
We call our talks Cafecito con, to have an open forum for a variety of conversations and content. We want to share a cup of love and create spaces for womanhood, to chat, to learn, to grow. We want to reclaim our spaces of conversation about each other. We are not gossiping or chismeando, we are compartiendo, sharing our stories. More importantly, we're giving our best to each other. We'll talk about life, business, hopes, faith, and dreams. At least that's our dream. Thank you very much for being with us, Linda. I am Delila Vasquez.
And I'm Stephanie Montoya.
And we're short one.
We are short one today. Unfortunately, we're missing Rosa.
Yeah, Rosa's traveling. And so there's going to be the 2 of us here having a conversation with you. And thank you for saying yes.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, I love bringing our friends into the show because I think that you have, much like other friends we have brought, interesting life experiences that could enhance and inspire others, right? You're a self-made leader.
Con Diosito.
So not by yourself,
and life
right?
is experience.
Right. So tell us a little bit about you. Who are you, Linda? I don't know you.
Geez, do we ever truly find out who we are? I'm hoping we continue to evolve and grow and discover new things, even when we hit my age. That I didn't know I could do that. I love it.
Right? So today, who are you?
I am Linda Dominguez, and today besides speaking about some of my experiences, I work for Girl Scouts of San Gregorio, and I'm their Chief of Eternal Affairs and Community Partnerships, which are so important to make the contacts out in the community, to cultivate the communities that aren't familiar with us. So today on behalf of work, which is Girl Scouts, but I'm also a mom, and my most favorite is I'm a nana.
Oh,
a nana. How many grandchildren do you have?
I have 4 altogether,
Oh, awesome.
2 boys, and finally the 2 girls, because I just had sons, and I always said that's why God gave me Girl Scouts, because I didn't have any girls.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I have my 2 princesses, yes.
wonderful. Yeah, and I mentioned that you're a self-made leader, and I really want us to talk a little bit about that, because in this environment nowadays where affirmative action is out the window, where there is a higher concern with how much college costs, and I don't know, to me it is very blurry what the future looks like in terms of dreaming of going to college. Parents were already worried about, how am I going to do this? This is expensive. I think it's great to hear and to see how people can build a career without having to spend the thousands and thousands of dollars that some of us have had to spend. And that's one of the things that I admire about you. Because I would have never guessed, I would have never asked. It's none of my business, when I get to know someone, hey, what college did you go to? But in this context, I think it's really important that we share how is it that we have come to be, right?
Because it doesn't always have to be one way, right? It doesn't always have to be the path to college to be able to become successful, right? Is
For
that
sure.
what you're saying?
For
yeah,
sure.
There's always different routes. It's not just you have to go to school, graduate, and get a job, right?
Exactly, and I really wish that they would encourage your trade schools and your jobs that you don't have to have a 4-year degree for, because college isn't for everyone. They may not fit in to the system and however it goes, and financially also.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Imperial Valley College. Okay. I grew up in the Imperial Valley. I started my associates. I went for 2 years. Did a wonderful trip with my dad to Mexico City and went to Teotihuacan and all of that. And when I came back, it was like,
School wet.
Then life happened, and I got married, and I had 2 beautiful children, and I was working full time, and became a single parent. And eventually, believe it or not, I only needed like 7 units to get my AS. But like I said, life happened. And I eventually went back and finished, but of course by then it was another whole semester, because you know how they keep
Right.
adding things on.
The catalogs change.
20-some years later.
Right.
And so it was nice that as adults, my children got to see me finally finish and get that piece. But I was lucky in my first job was with migrant education. And I was a tutor for the high school, and I had my own classroom, and the kids came in and things like that, and I got to work with them. Then I went to work for the health department as an interpreter. So there are things out there.
Yeah.
My next stop was at the Imperial County Sheriff's Office. I was with them for 16 years.
Wow.
And dispatching for about 11 years, and then I went into process serving, being a civil processor. So you learn as you're going along. What are your strengths? What are you good at? You know, I learned I was pretty good chasing people down the street.
So you were athletic too.
Oh, yes. When need be. I prefer not. I prefer the knock, just the knock.
Yeah.
But I didn't need a college education for that. You need the confidence, and you go out and work in these areas. You learn new terminology. I mean, at home, when would I ever talk about a tow truck? So in Spanish, una grúa. You know, I had to learn a lot of different terminology as I went in these different areas of my career. But you don't always have to have a 4-year. So
Yeah, no, I'd like that you share, you know, the different steps. I do some work with entrepreneurs and building businesses, and I often tell entrepreneurs that they might not have a diploma that says that they have a master's or a doctorate on anything in particular, but when they have a business for 10, 15 years, they have the equivalent with the experience, because you're right.
Yes, experience means a lot.
And
It's worth
doing
a lot.
it,
It's
you're
worth a
learning.
lot.
Yeah.
it really is. And your time and emotional intelligence is what it boils down to a lot of time. And just because you don't have that 4-year college does not make you any less or equivalent to go for these jobs. And it's experience.
Yeah, there's,
That's
you
interesting.
have a lot of nuggets.
Yeah.
The emotional
Yeah,
intelligence.
she just dropped that in there.
Yeah.
And it just kind of took me aback too. I was like, oh, that's a good one. I
It's
like
one
that.
of the concepts that I definitely have had to lean on
Yes.
to be able to maneuver different parts of working life. And, you know, one of the reasons why I love this woman,
Because I like to joke.
yeah, among other things. I had a high position, and I worked with people that had a lot of means by way of money and accounts. And, you know, sometimes when you're not of that environment, it could be intimidating, right? And I remember you telling me, Mija, just remember, they go to the bathroom just like you do. Okay. And that's what
Words of
emotional
wisdom.
intelligence is.
Right.
You know, being able to identify how you feel, but acting, not reacting. Being
Right.
able to take on what you need to do. So
And that's a big-
you have been practicing before the book came
That's
out.
a big lesson
Oh,
to learn. Like
yes.
emotional intelligence is something I personally learned later. And I'm glad I learned it. I'm still working on it, but it's something that's really important that helps you out in life, especially when you're dealing with a lot of different people and you're in like the service realm and trying to help a lot of different types of people.
And that's one thing I would encourage people also is in networking. Get out there in your community. Everyone's always looking for volunteers. They need, and you can grow like that in itself. I know when I was with the Valley, from the sheriff's office, I went to Girl Scouts, and I've been with them for almost 25 years now. And but the networking, and that's when I truly learned about networking. My previous job, I'm not sure I wanted to network much, but
In-house.
in-house networking. And this is what I encourage, especially our people who don't have that confidence, our younger generation who's starting out, our younger girls. Even, I don't care if you're in your 30s or 40s, start doing it. It's never too late. And by networking, I remember I became a member of MANA, which is the Mexican American National Association, and I became the president. So when I transferred to San Diego, they also had MANA over there, so I became vice president over there. And one of the reasons I loved MANA so much is it's an empowerment for women, but they also have an Hermanitas program, which is a literacy program for our junior high and high school students. So find out what your passion is. Mine has been for youth and for the adult women, and get out there and learn. I remember going to conferences and seeing people who I looked up to and thought, wow, she really has it together. And I would study how she would, her mannerisms. And when you go to these long conferences and you want to just kind of nod off, but you know you have to be alert still.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of those.
Oh, yes. And you know,
not.
just watching her, she inspired me by the way she held herself with such grace, and it made me want to emulate the way she was. And I hope that I have been able to be an example to some people in the community. So go out, see what you learn from other women. We're here. We are here.
I like
There is
that.
the formal and then there is the informal education, right? Which
Yeah.
is just as important. I
Oh,
mean,
definitely.
how else do you connect with human beings,
Well,
right?
just learning off of people's experiences in general, you kind of take away from it. Sometimes you sit with it and evaluate how you're doing things. So yeah, it's very
Yeah,
beneficial.
It definitely is.
Do you have a story of how networking has actually helped you in a way that you didn't think was going to help you? Is that what led you into Girl
There's-
Scouts, or?
I was ready for a change, and I saw a newspaper article in Girl Scouts, and I thought, ooh, working with youth, you know, and the programs and everything, and I researched it first before I applied for the position, and I saw what a wonderful program it is. It's so empowering. And because it is empowerment, not just for girls, but for the women who become volunteers or leaders. I see them grow. I see their confidence grow because they are learning so much through Girl Scouts. And the networking, there's a lot of little stories. One of my best networking was at a conference in San Diego, and I met with a gentleman, and I had a troop in the Imperial Valley that all the girls were visually impaired.
Oh.
And through this networking, this gentleman had contact at Folsom Prison, so they did Braille and audio Girl Scout books of all the books so that my troop would have that accessible and available to them.
Wow.
And it's the tiniest things. You're talking, you're speaking with someone, and you just have that connection. And then it's like, oh, do you know I do this? Or do you know I...
Yeah.
And those are the connections that, like, wow, I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. I think
Yeah.
I think a lot of us didn't know like a connection like that. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea is that we all walk around with resources and with knowledge, but we also walk around with, you know, those little coditos, like the corners that you put when you put tubing together.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all have it.
It's true.
We can always connect others. It's not just about me, right?
But why is it that we forget about that?
Some
Excuse me.
go age first.
I
love
Perfect. I don't think that we give ourselves enough credit. We don't realize what we have to offer. We take it for granted because it's part of our everyday, what we do. You know, it's just who I am. We don't realize, we don't value ourselves to get that out. And this is one of the things I love about Girl Scouts. Their main program is based on discover, connect, and take action.
Discover, connect, and take action.
Yes. We don't know who we are, what we like. You know, I'm older, I won't give my age. I'm
Please.
still discovering things about myself. But imagine our youth. You know, they don't, even when you get into college, it's like, what do I want to be?
Yeah.
You know, this may not be for me. You need to try different things, try different venues. And you may end up loving something that you felt you were a failure at, but deep inside you have that skill, that passion that was waiting for somebody to come and blow the embers to lighten it. And I think that's why sometimes we don't share, because we don't place a value on ourselves and what we actually know.
It's that fear, right? That the biggest risk that we can take is to expose what we know, but the fear is that what if they prove me wrong?
Yeah,
Right?
the vulnerability feeling, right? Like you're scared, like, oh my gosh, is this really right? Am I doing the right thing, right? It's just having that confidence and just moving forward. And if I mess up, then
Yeah.
I'll just pick myself up and hopefully try again. right?
Learn from it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how we learn.
Yeah.
That is life.
Yeah.
We learn.
Yeah, I often
we-
tell the girls, you know, the day I don't have problems, then I'm not living anymore. Because that's
Very
what life
true.
is. They do think I am a bit somber because of that, but it's true. I mean, life is all about solving something.
Right.
And having a project, having a passion, and building on that. You know, what do I want to do? I get scared when I don't have a project to do. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You know, I need to have something that
I have
want to be
time.
working on. Exactly, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, I was raised in the generation that if you were sitting down and not doing anything, get a little high, get
Yeah.
up. There's always
Yep.
something to do.
Yep.
But yes,
We can't relax.
exactly.
I have learned how to take naps.
Oh, that's good. Maybe you can teach me.
Yeah,
I need to learn
I-
how to take naps.
Yeah, I have to teach myself. But yeah, no, I do not every now and again take naps.
I
But
do too,
you're
when
right.
I get the
Yeah.
opportunity, you know,
Yeah.
I'm always asking my granddaughters, you guys want to take a nap? No, no, we don't take naps anymore.
They're too
Nana
big for
wants
that.
a nap.
So what has been your trajectory with the Girl Scouts? Where did you start? And
I started with membership. I started on the bottom, you know, and I was in the Imperial Valley, and our council was Imperial Valley San Diego Council. It was a combination of it. So I had to learn everything from scratch. Had never done this before, and I really was not familiar with Girl Scouts. We didn't have it when I was growing up. We got on the school bus. I lived out in the country. Se acabó. When you get home, we had a little grocery store my grandparents had, and everybody worked it.
Wow.
you know, so we didn't have all the extracurricular activities.
Gotcha.
My extracurricular was con la escoba.
Yeah.
But so I started from scratch, and I loved it, learning something new. And that's another thing. You never want to go stagnant. You need to keep learning and expanding your emotional intelligence.
Yeah, very true.
So from there, I became manager of the office there and oversaw our stores, our cookie sales on that end, and our membership. And we did what was called series. We would go out to the schools and put on free 6 to 8 week programs of Girl Scout programs to introduce the community to Girl Scouts, because it isn't something that's always familiar.
Yeah.
And it's so good. I want everyone to get a piece of that pie. It's delicious. It's so life-changing.
Yeah. Well, it is your passion.
Oh, well, yes,
Yeah.
it is. And then from there, they asked me if I would to move up to the San Diego office, and I did. And my children were growing. My parents were no longer there. They had already all passed, so I went to San Diego and became a manager up there, and I had North County San Diego was all of my area. So then I oversaw the membership staff. That's how we did it. So, and then from there I went to Fresno, to the council over there, and I always, how Diosito puts things. And it's taken, like you said, that faith. Just kind of close your eyes and jump. I happened to be visiting my comadre in Fresno, and I thought, I'm going to stop by their council and see what they have. Maybe they have programs we can interchange or all of this. And I went in, and I ended up meeting the CEO, and she offered me a job on the spot.
Wow.
And it was like, okay. I hadn't thought about leaving San Diego. I'd been there 8 years with him already,
Yeah.
and I loved living in San
I was
Diego.
gonna
So
say
much cooler.
San Diego, Fresno.
I know. That's exactly what my son said. Mama, estás
There's good
loca.
lakes. There's good lakes out there.
But I truly felt Diosito has a reason for this. I don't know what it is, but what are the odds of that happening? There's a reason in my life, a purpose for this. So I took the position, and I moved over there. And I had already been single 23 years. I met my husband.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
There was a
yes.
reason.
There was a reason, yes. And we ended up moving back down to Southern California because his children are from here also.
Oh,
So that was the reason Diosito had,
nice.
you know,
And so
planned.
then when you came to Southern California, that's when you,
I went to, I became a director in Fresno because usually before, if you wanted to move up in career and growth and everything, you needed to be willing to relocate. And that's another beauty of Girl Scouts. We're across worldwide. And we're in every place in the United States also. And you have different councils that you can go to, and you're learning things, and you're growing as you're going in these different areas in different directions. And so from there I went to work in Montclair, and we became Greater Los Angeles. I was there for 5 years, and then I transferred to Redlands, where I am, and I've been there for over 8 years, and I love it. And it's
What's your title now?
Chief of External Relations and Community Partnerships.
Awesome.
So yes, here's this Mexicana with migrant grandparents who raised her, and gracias a Dios, I've made it to chief.
That's amazing.
So it's
wow.
doable.
there was a ladder to climb, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and you know, it makes me think, going back to where we are right now and what life is like for our kids right now. My daughters and I have these conversations every now and again because, you know, they're born here, I'm an immigrant, and my experience is different than theirs. And sometimes we find that the difference is pretty wide. And one of the things that they tell me is, well, Mom, we're not going to have the same experience, the same Latina experience as you are, because we are white passing. And I really had to chew on that concept of what does it mean. I mean, there's the studies that show that if you're beautiful, there are more opportunities that come your way. But if you're beautiful in white passing, there's even a wider chance. Do you think that that help you? Have you thought about that? Or thinking back, do you think that that's something?
I've always joked about getting the best of both worlds, because my biological mother, my mother was my nana. My biological mother was Anglo. But my parents divorced when I was very young. I was 3 years old, and my paternal grandparents raised me. And my dad lived at home with us because he was disabled. So I always grew up knowing que era mexicana. I never knew anything different, you know. And I wouldn't really know if it made a difference because I was part Anglo. I really don't know, because I was raised Mexicana and grew up in my heart Mexicana. And that's my traditions and my roots. I really don't know the biological, the other side, you know. But in the time frame that I grew up in the 60s and 70s, it was becoming an asset to be Mexicana or Latina or Hispanic,
or bilingual,
you know.
or,
The fact that I was bilingual, I believe, helped me tremendously in all my different positions. So instead of it looking at being the Anglo privilege, I was trying to think of the correct term without being insulting in any way. It was more the being Mexicana, you know.
That helped you.
That helped me in my career because of the fact that I spoke Spanish.
That's fantastic.
You know.
That it didn't hinder you at all, or there was
no
situations like that. Like you used it. You used it.
That was the big revolution then, was
La raza. Well, you know, but it's interesting.
Power, you know.
But
So
it's interesting, right? Because it has its ups and downs, and we come full circle.
Exactly. Before that, previously, yes, it was a hindrance. My dad speaks of going to a segregated high school in the Imperial Valley, and I was shocked to hear this, where all the Mexicans went, you know.
Right.
And it changed while he was in high school, finally, you know. But we're talking about in the 40s and 50s, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, you know, they still had segregation, and in little agricultural community like that, oh yes. Yes. But when it was my turn, gracias a Dios, I was in the era that, you know, we were making such positive changes, and this is when Mecha came along. And they were offering, and what I loved about it is they were offering education, free education to the Hispanic communities. They had scholarships, they had all of this. In fact, I received a Mecha scholarship to go to San Diego State.
Amazing.
But remember, my nana raised me. You don't leave until you're married. So even though I had this opportunity, the fact that she said no, it was no. Even if you were 18, and she was of the belief that women were not to be educated. It was my dad who intercepted later and said, well, go to the local college and, you know, at least get your foot in the door there. So yes, things have changed tremendously. But actually, it's my Mexican culture that has been an asset for me.
you.
Amazing. And now that you're at the level that you're at now, how do you use that to influence others outside or inside of your circle? Like, you know, what do you do to try and lift up others around you?
I still like to get out in the community. I still like to go to the schools and meet with the parents and go to community events. I get involved in different boards. In fact, this is where I met
We met
Leila.
some years ago.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was on the Hispanic Chamber Board for a while. I'm currently on the Riverside County's Park Foundation Board. I still get out to spread the word. You know, Girl Scouts is here. We're 111 years old. Are we perfect? What organization is?
Right.
You know, not everyone is going to agree with you.
Right.
But the basic is that it's for the girls to develop the girls, to give them the skills, to give them the opportunities that perhaps we, the family, cannot give them, provide to them, and also to the woman. So yes, I still, and it's not so much I want to use it, I want to share it.
I like that. Okay.
I want to share it because it belongs to everyone. And unless you take somebody's hand, because somewhere along the line, someone gave you their hand.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it is our turn now that we are in the positions that we're in for us to turn around and give our hands out. We need to pass it on.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. I like that.
Yeah.
Using our power to help others. Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, someone opened the window, why not go and open the door for someone else, right? It's that, we were talking a little bit about that earlier when you said, you know, why do you think that people don't share?
Right.
It's that misunderstanding. I do wholeheartedly believe that there is opportunity for everyone, so I don't have to take it away from anyone
Yeah. It's
in
a
order
big
for me
world.
to grow,
It's a big
right?
world, right? There's
Yeah.
space for everyone.
Yeah,
In any area, right?
And a responsibility. I
Yeah.
think we as women, we are responsible to help our other generations. It's our responsibility to pass on our knowledge, our experiences. Hopefully they won't have to go through some of the things that we did because we already opened the doors for them. So to bring them with us,
Yeah.
not close the doors, not be, oh no, you know, open those doors, open those opportunities, and sharing with them what we have.
And I think it's more important now more than ever because we do have the means, we have the ways in
Yes.
which we can share this information, and you never know what is it that you have to offer that
That's
is of
really
value
true.
to someone else.
Yeah.
Right?
That's really true. I think somebody has said something to me one time and I didn't expect that something I did like rubbed off on them. Like I didn't even know that that was happening until somebody told me and I was like, oh wow, people are actually watching me. And you know, but it's kind of cool that
It's a good feeling.
yeah, it was a
Yeah.
good feeling because they took
Yeah.
something from me and it made them better. Like it helped them out somehow. And yeah, it was
Just like I
caught
mentioned,
off
that
guard.
lady I watched, her
Yeah.
mannerisms and her professional.
correct. Yeah, I
You
thought
know?
of that when you were saying that
Yeah.
story. That was really interesting. I like
Yeah,
that.
no, and I love that there is an opportunity in the Girl Scouts. It's kind of one of those vehicles, right? And
Oh,
like you
yes.
said, because I've seen you in action and I've seen the impact that it has, not just on the girls, but on the moms. Because the moms have to discover their own leadership in order to make things happen for their daughters.
That makes sense.
And
yeah.
it's
'Cause they're
amazing
going
what
through
they
it With
do.
their daughters
Yeah.
probably for the first time.
Yes, and if you think about it, and you could even help on a job for down the road. You're learning budgeting, you're learning time management, you're learning event planning, you're learning intersocial skills because all the volunteers get together on a monthly basis.
Oh.
You're also, when council has large events, you're meeting other women from other organizations and talk about networking, you know, to share what you have and perhaps learn something new from all these other thousands of women who are a part of Girl Scouts.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it is truly a sisterhood.
Yeah. And on another note, right, on another aspect of life, because there is a sisterhood, there is something that we have that connects us in the world, but there's also that spiritual piece of us, right, that walks with us or that supports us in moments, because we all expect, and I don't know about expect, but we all experience pain in living and in life, and we have to find the comfort somewhere. So where do you find your comfort? I know that you have mentioned Diosito, and that's one of your words that you use a lot, right? And by the way, that means dear God.
Yes, it's a term of endearment for God. Instead of Dios, it's Diosito, because he and I are pals, so I get to call him that.
Awesome.
My grandparents were very involved in the church, in the Catholic Church. I went to Catholic school for 8 years on a scholarship.
Nice.
Yes.
When they were more available.
Yes, that is so true.
Yeah.
And so a faith is just part of who I am, you know, and it doesn't have to be a specific denomination. There is, in my opinion, there is a higher power. And how we choose to view the higher power, to me, that is each individual's choice. But it's faith and it's belief. And I truly don't feel I would be where I am if it wasn't for my faith and my belief. And sometimes just saying, okay, Diosito, your will be done, you know. One of the other things I loved about Girl Scouts, and people don't realize, is their promise. I will serve God and my country. Because God is generic. And if our girls want to replace the word God with Yahweh, or any other term that they refer to their higher power and their beliefs, they can do that.
That's great. I think that's great that you guys or hold space for that, for all the different types of girls out there.
We have religious recognition badges that the girls can work on, and it's every denomination has set certain requirements that the girls have to work on the badge. So whether it's Muslim or Baptist or whatever your faith is, you have specific badges that you work on that are religious recognition badges.
Amazing.
Yes, and
Wow.
so many
Imagine
people
that.
are not aware of that.
Right? No, I'm learning so much about the Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something that was present to me when I was younger, and I think I may have suggested it, and it was like, para qué? You know, type of thing is what I heard, I think.
It's not a thing we do in our family,
yeah,
right?
type of thing.
Exactly.
So I never really understood it or knew, you know, I knew some girls that went to it and then they sold cookies after, but that's about it. I didn't really know what was all involved with it. So I really appreciate you sharing.
Interject the cookie. People always say, oh, okay, with the girls selling cookies. Do you know that's our entrepreneurship badge that the girls earn?
That's awesome. So it's actually like a business.
It is.
They do.
They have
Yeah.
to build a budget.
Oh, wow.
They make plans on how they're going to spend their money. They learn about sales. And they learn about marketing. How do they market to get it out there? And even more important, they learn how to deal with, no, thank you.
Yeah, they put themselves out there.
Yes.
They literally
And
put themselves
learning
out
to
there.
deal with no.
Yeah.
Because in life, we're going to get those no's.
Wow.
And so it is a program of itself. So it's more than just a box of cookies. It's what the girl is learning behind it.
That just changed my whole world right now.
Yes.
So every time I see them now standing out there, I'm like, they're putting themselves out there. That's
They
something
are. They're
that I
learning
need to learn from them.
Start a business. How to run a business is what they're learning. And of course, they do get the proceeds.
Yeah.
A percentage of it, and some goes to
And
the
we
cookies
get
and all
to
of
enjoy
this.
delicious cookies, of course.
Oh yes, we get the proceeds.
Yeah, we get the proceeds of delicious cookies.
But with this, what I love that the troop gets, and they plan this beforehand, is sometimes they take trips that maybe that child, her parents would never be able to afford to
Ugh.
send them
Yeah.
Yeah.
or to do something with them. And that's also the beauty behind it that people don't see.
Yeah,
Wow.
it creates opportunity,
Yes,
right? And
it
exposure
does.
is everything.
Yes.
When I used to teach preschool, I would tell the parents, we are going to have a field trip to the university. Because if you don't step foot in it,
Yes.
how can you dream of something you don't know,
True.
right? So
How could it
for
become
those,
familiar to you,
yes,
right?
And
they
feel
have
comfortable.
to. Yeah.
And feel that you're just as entitled to walk on this university as everyone else is.
That's
Yeah.
so true. Wow.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter who you are, where you come from.
Yeah.
You have the same rights.
Yeah, so there is that empowerment that is weaved into the experiences. They might not be promoted and such, but definitely the experiences. And I am so grateful that you are so open and willing to have these open conversations, because that's what we want to offer.
Yes.
We want to pose the challenges that women face, but we also want to present the opportunities,
Yeah.
right? There isn't all one-sided. Life is more than that, and it may fit in with you, it may not fit in with you,
Right.
but there it is. You take
Yes.
it if you like to,
Yeah.
right?
And here we are sharing the knowledge.
Right,
Yes.
right. So
Exactly.
thank you so much for having a conversation with us. Do you have a saying that you want to offer
One
or
of my
share?
favorite.
All right.
Tell us.
If you have knowledge, let others light their candle in it. And it's by Margaret
Ooh.
Fuller.
Nice.
And
like that.
that's what we should all be doing. Let others light their candles in our knowledge that
Like-
we have learned.
Let others light.
If you
Our-
have knowledge, let others light their candle in it.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm going to
Yeah.
borrow it.
Okay,
Yeah.
go for it.
So-
I borrowed it from
Yeah.
Margaret Fuller.
Thank you so much, and we hope that this is inspiration, food for thought. I'm sure that someone can take this conversation and make it into, as you said, use this knowledge and
Yes.
light up their candle and make it be what fits them.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate you
Thank
sharing your
you.
experiences and what you've been through and how the Girl Scouts can help others moving forward.
Yes,
So
definitely.
thank you.
Thank you.
And you're close.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for joining Cafecito Con. We hope that we have inspired and enlightened you, and we are excited for you to.
Do it again.
That we're gonna have to do. I think we're gonna have to do the ending again. Yeah.
3, 2, 1, take 3, go.
And thank you for joining Cafecito Con. We hope that we have inspired and enlightened you, and we are excited for you to join us again for another Cafecito Con here at Cal State University San Bernardino's Studio 54. Listen to previous shows as they are now found on our YouTube channel.
You can also listen to previous shows by visiting our Facebook page at Cafecito Con and click on the watch video button on the right hand of our page. Feel free to leave us a comment. We encourage you to follow us and to keep listening. And if you'd like to send us a message, do so via Messenger to our Facebook page or via Instagram at Cafecito Con to Cafecito Con, right?
yeah.
At to Cafecito Con.
It's two.
That is number 2, Cafecito Con, all in one word. Thank you.
We might have to do that ending part again.
Again?
Yeah.
All right, let's do the ending again. The we encourage you part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
La última parranda será.
All right, here we go. We encourage you to follow us and keep listening. If you'd like to send us a message, do so via Messenger to our Facebook page or via Instagram at 2Cafecito Con. That is the number 2, Cafecito Con, all in one word, 2Cafecito Con. Feel free to share and keep listening. Bye.
That's a cut.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. That went by fast.
Yeah.
When
How long
at
did
first
it-
you told me how long, I'm thinking, híjole, what are we going to talk
it was
about
like
that long?